What's up, everybody, and welcome to another trading analytics video. I'm Trade Runner, and the market has had an interesting week coming into Mag 7's big earnings this week, and I think we're setting ourselves up for a very interesting election rally, so to speak. Take a look here at SPY. You can see, as we talked about in our last video, that we had lost the trend line on the daily, and we were going to look to retest it at some point, right? What ended up happening, we retested the trend line here and rejected from the 582 zone on the trend line, and now we are at 580. So what that establishes is that the 582 zone is now a clear level of resistance for SPY, and that trend line has now successfully acted as a key level of resistance. And what that puts in mind is that we're probably going to retest 567 at some point before the end of the year before we continue higher. I would probably say that the next point of contention for us to go even lower would be this level here at 574. And if we lose 574, that's going to put 567 on the cards. So keep that in mind with SPY. But until then, we do have Mag 7 earnings. We have Apple and Amazon still set to report after we had Microsoft, which we'll talk about in a little bit later. We had Google yesterday, and we had just a number of names, Tesla and NVIDIA a few weeks ago, right? So taking a look here, like I said, you can see that we had a nice bit of consolidation before this rejection, and now we're just kind of looking to retrace that. So if we lose at any point 574 on SPY on the daily, then that puts 567 in the cards, and if 567 fails, then we're going back down to 558. So that's what I got on SPY. Jumping over here to the Qs, you can see that we're in a nice zone here, but similarly to SPY, if you actually look, and I didn't talk about this when we were talking about SPY, but looking at the volume trend, you can see that as the volume is going each day forward, we're actually going lower and lower on our volume scale, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but what it does indicate that there's a lot less money going into these individual names for some reason. Now, it could be a lot of fear and skepticism going into the election cycle, which is next Tuesday, or it could be, the necessary pullback needed before our Santa Claus rally in the middle of November. With that in conjunction with an election year rally, then that should push us to all-time highs on the Qs as well, as we have been experiencing on SPY the last few weeks. But as I stated a few weeks in our last few videos, you can see that we had the higher low trend line bounce on Qs. We broke through the resistance here at 486.67. We failed to hold the retest above 497. We actually closed the daily below it. Now we're probably going to go and retest the 487 zone, similarly like I outlined on SPY with that lower level of resistance. We're going to hold that level and see if that's going to hold itself as a key support zone to bounce and look to retest all-time highs here for 504. So with Qs, the thing that's going to push the Qs up will be continued positive earnings from the rest of the Mag 7. Google had a nice ER boom, jumping up to 183 before retracing back down to 179. And then from 179, it caught a little bounce there. But until then, I think we're going to see some interesting names to the big name Apple reports next week or later on this week. So keep that in mind on the Qs. Jumping over to XOXX, as I talked about the chip names, they've been in flux really. NVIDIA has seen a nice bit of a pullback from its all-time high touch earlier a few days ago. And you had a former major player in the chip sector with SMCI, which was one of the hottest names in the market for the beginning of 2024. And now the company has literally lost 70% of its value in 6 months. So that had some further negative news come out and drop it down to in the mid-30s. So that's not good for the XOXX ETF. But the level you want to look at for XOXX is a loss of this zone here at 225. If we were to lose 225 as a whole, then we're going down. And when I say down, we're going down. 215 will be the next level of strong resistance. And then if we lose 215, then we're going back down to 200. So we don't want to lose 225, but if we do, just watch out below, guys. And names like AMD and NVIDIA are going to lead that pullback. So let's see what the market has in store for us. Finally, jumping over to Bitcoin before we get into our final name, which we'll touch on. Looking at Bitcoin. Oops, wrong one. You see here that we got the 71,000 level break that I had been talking about for the last few weeks. If you guys have been watching our videos, you guys know I had the key support level from the bounce here at 60,500. And I said as long as this holds above 65,005, then we're going to look to retest all-time highs at some point and break through the 71,000 resistance, and that we did. However, we curled down before we actually hit official all-time highs of 73,000, and we're going to look to retest this 71,000 level as support. If we lose 71,600 on any longer time frame, then we're going to go back to establish 68,000, and this will be basically a false breakout on Bitcoin and these similar names. Those names would be like Coinbase, BT, BITX, and the like. Mara as well, which we actually played in our server to a beautiful win. But in any case, Bitcoin needs to hold 71,600. If it does not, then we're going down to 68,000 in a relatively short period of time. So keep that in mind. Finally, the big name that we want to talk about in this video is Microsoft. So if you actually look at Microsoft following its ER, let's actually jump over to a shorter time frame here. Jump over to the hour. See a little more cleanly, right? So if you look here on Microsoft, you can see that the ER report was not necessarily the greatest, right? The earnings on the conference call, we actually lost a bit from the rejection. We got through all-time highs here and rejected pretty harshly. So now we're trading about 416 as of now in the aftermarket hours. And I think if we get back down to 415, that's going to look to hold, because that's a very important level for Microsoft. 415 and 410 is a very strong support. So if we continue to drop lower, we shouldn't go any lower than 410. And 410 will be a nice area to, if we consolidate, to buy some calls and look for a pushback to the upside. However, if we do lose 410 for any reason, 410 brings us 397. So keep that in mind. I do think that, again, the Microsoft's going to look to consolidate between 410 and 415 for a pushback to the upside heading into the end of the week. So that's what I got for you guys today. I've been Trade Runner. This is Trading Analytics. Link to our Discord in the description of this video, as well as in our channel bio. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.